Good afternoon. It's once again Friday at 5:30 in the p.m. And of course, I am delighted, as always, to be with you and to have the opportunity to chat a little bit, give a little report from Washington, District of Columbia. I was just saying to my guests that we had one of the busiest weeks of legislative activity that I've ever seen in the House of Representatives. We were doing what is called appropriations, and of course, we had some bills that had over 100 amendments to the bill. The way a bill generally works in Congress, of course, is that when you come to the floor, you usually have 1 hour of debate. And that means each side gets 30 minutes, and you debate the pros and cons, and then you take a vote. Sometimes you have a bill where you can have amendments to the bill. And I am delighted to mention the fact that I had an amendment to the bill that was able to generate an additional $3 million for sickle cell anemia beyond what was proposed. A committee generally has a base set of recommendations, and you can vote up or down for those. But because we were doing appropriations and lots of amendments were there, people then would get 5 minutes. If you have an amendment, you get 5 minutes to talk about your amendment, and somebody that's against your amendment get 5 minutes to talk against it. And so given the fact that we had over 100 amendments to this one bill, and in many instances there were 10 minutes of debate on each amendment, that was a lot of amendments, and that requires a lot of time. It doesn't take that much time to make decisions, but it takes a lot of time for democracy to be at work and for democratic principles to be at play. We could have one guy could make all decisions. Matter of fact, one guy wants to make
That is true.
all of the decisions, too many of them. But we're going to talk, and we've been talking lately about behavior health. We've been talking about research. We've been trying to find out why people do the things that they do to the best of our ability. You can't always figure that out. But this afternoon we have Dr. Krista Clark, who is an assistant professor of psychiatry and behavioral health sciences and obstetrics and gynecology at Northwestern University Feinberg School of Medicine, an outstanding hospital, medical school complex. She is board certified in adult psychiatrist. I often tell people that I used to work for a psychiatrist. I used to work for Dr. Kermit T. Mellinger, who at that time was one of 6 black psychiatrists in the city of Chicago. His daughter now, of course, is a psychiatrist and is in the practice of psychiatry in Chicago. And so I had a lot of fun working with and for Dr. Mellinger back in the early 1970s and at the latter part of the 1960s. So, Dr. Clark, let me welcome you and say thank you for joining us. Would you further identify for our viewing audience the work that you do? I just gave a little snippet.
Okay.
But
Absolutely.
it is far more engaged than what I said.
Absolutely. So the work that I do, my focus is in mood and anxiety disorders, particularly amongst women of the childbearing age, so anywhere from 18 and up across the lifespan. And my research has been focused on bipolar disorder and how to manage these mood and anxiety disorders through critical times in women's lives, like pregnancy and postpartum and after assault. So that is a lot of the work that I do, but more broadly, I treat patients who have psychosis as well as illnesses, PTSD, and other anxiety disorders. And I speak a lot about these things and have been featured in other media outlets such as NPR, talking about how to manage medications, dealing with suicide, and things of that nature.
Well, people ban the word bipolar around a great deal. And I'm not sure that they always are accurate or if they always know what they're really talking about. They'll say, well, so-and-so is bipolar. Well, he's bipolar. She's bipolar. And that's why they act the way they do, and that's why they behave. What is bipolar?
Figured you might ask. So bipolar disorder, a lot of people use it in the lay community to say that their mood is all over the place, or they're acting nice one minute and upset the other, and that's not enough to say that someone is bipolar. Bipolar is a shifting of energies, is the best way to describe it. Shifting of energies across the day, across the month, across the year. And the shifting of energies and mood changes can go anywhere from being manic, what we know is the extreme high episode of bipolar disorder, to depression, the depths of being sad and unable to get out of the bed, really low energy, unable to be motivated or interested in things that would normally make that person happy. On the flip side, mania is more grandiose and confident, and a person doesn't need to sleep. Now, we know we all need to sleep, so that's a key symptom. Not needing to sleep for days at a time and still feeling enough energy to paint the house and go to work. That is a classic symptom. There are some milder versions in which what we call hypomania is not as extreme as not sleeping for days at a time, but maybe a person only needs 3 or 4 hours of sleep for weeks at a time and has great energy, is confident, might feel they can do things other people can't and that they've never had training in. And it's an illness actually affecting a lot of our community, and so many in the Black community in particular go undiagnosed or misdiagnosed with this illness.
Well, what, if anything, can we do? We know that lots of people are reluctant to agree or suggest in any way, shape, form, or fashion that they have emotional or mind conditions that they could get help for and with. We used to jokingly say to some people that just because you take one course in child development, it doesn't mean that you're in a position to diagnose other people, that it just doesn't work that way. And so, since it doesn't work that way,
Right.
how do we convince people that they could benefit from, say, assistance with reaching levels of comfortability within themselves?
Absolutely. So there's, as you know, Mr. Davis, there's plenty of stigma that continues in all communities, and particularly in the African American community, around mental health illness and the diagnosis, and no one wants to be labeled in that way. I encourage my patients often to think about it like a heart attack or breaking a leg, we have to go to the doctor to get those things taken care of so that we can heal and move on and function. And it's the same with the brain. Having a mental illness is like having an illness in the brain. The brain affects the rest of the body. If we can repair that illness or treat that illness, then person goes back to normal, has a better quality of life. So I encourage people to think about if they're experiencing something mentally, whether that's anxiety or feeling low or having too much energy that is impairing their life, then they should talk to someone and see if they can get a treatment, sometimes medication, sometimes therapy that would help them have a better quality of life and them to heal in the way that they can live the life they want to live in an enjoyable way or a more enjoyable way.
And that does not necessarily mean that something is so drastically
Right.
wrong with them
Yeah,
that it's something to be ashamed of.
absolutely not.
It's something to just not deal with in any way, shape, form, or fashion,
Yeah.
does it?
Right. Absolutely not. It's not. It doesn't mean that they're a bad person or that they're gonna do anything bad to anybody to have a mental illness. And I go back to the heart attack or the broken leg. Most people wouldn't walk around with a broken leg just because they were worried about what someone thought of them. So.
Well, we got a caller wanting to get in
Yeah.
and say something. Caller, are you there?
Yeah, how you doing? Get him to y'all. Get him to your guest. First of all, I want to say Happy Father's Day and Father's Day to y'all. And Congress Day, both of y'all, your guest and you are absolutely right about the mental illness. That's why a lot of things happen. And instead of they should get on their knees and pray to God. Both of y'all, what y'all was saying is true about the mental illness. That's why a lot of things be happening in every country, in every city.
Well, let me tell you, I thank you for that observation, and I also thank you for mentioning Father's Day. And I think that fatherhood and father's acknowledgement and recognition is so vitally important. We took 2 busloads of children to see their fathers a couple weeks ago in honor or recognition of Father's Day, who are in the penitentiary down at Sheridan. And I discovered that some other places are doing the same thing, and that there is a recognition that if we can keep people in contact and connected, even families from a family vantage point, that's a healthy thing. I've got a funeral, 2 funerals this weekend that I feel very connected to the people who died, and I feel good feeling connected
Yes.
to them, even though I won't be able to attend the funerals. But I just feel connected to a fella in Chicago, R.T. Tucker, that many people that I know R.T. and know that he's been associated with us for a long time. And the other one is my first cousin that I haven't seen since his father died. And I really wish I could be at the funeral with other members of my immediate family, and I won't be able to do so. So thank you, James, and thank you certainly for mentioning Father's Day and what that also means. I think we've got another call, Dr. Clark, so let's go to the phone. Caller, are you there?
Yes, Congress.
Yes, sir.
Yes, and I also would like to say Happy Father's Day to you and all the men that's listening. I want to thank you for bringing this guest on, and I think the governor has sense enough a lot of kids some money for mental health. Our last governor, he took it away. But listen, the question I want to ask you is this. We always had grandiosity in the beginning of time. Also, mental health. Please, my speech is kind of a little bit out, but I'm trying to speak a little bit better. But the question I want to ask you is this. Do it seem like more people are having bipolar disease, more mental disease than it ever have been? I mean, it seems like it's just an outbreak or something. Or maybe people are diagnosing this much better than what they used to be. I don't know. But one thing for sure, our black people are seriously having problems. So what should you think? And I want to get out there and hear your response. And thank you for taking the call.
Thank you, and Dr. Clark.
Yes. I want to say thank you to the caller. Yeah, that's a great point. Has bipolar disorder become more rampant? Is it that people are being diagnosed with it more, or are we diagnosing it more? I would definitely say we are able to identify it in the medical community more than we have been able to in the past. And there is some evidence that maybe the rates are rising, particularly of depression more than bipolar disorder, and also of anxiety. Some of that has even been attributed to the change in our diets. We've gone from more farm-based diets decades ago to what people are eating now, and often that being fast food and nutrient-poor meals and fish or meats that have been preserved and lack some of the natural nutrients that we need to stay healthy and keep our brains healthy. So there is a little bit of both, I would say, to the caller, that we're able to diagnose it more, but we're also seeing some increasing prevalence, and it's not completely clear, but diet, lack of exercise, increased stress, the way people are living are some of the factors.
Watch what you eat.
Yes.
Watch everything, no doubt. But we've got another caller, and let's go right to the phone. Caller, are you there?
Good evening, Dr. Davis, U.S. Representative to the 7th District, and your guest as well. One of the problems I have noticed, and it seemed to me, and I had to deal with this situation, people are losing their privacy rights. Instead of going through like a third party, if you're going through some type of issue where you go through MetLife and you submit your papers and all that, whatever forms you have to do, it's fine. Now, we got these companies now that want you to release your medical records if you got any type of CT or something like that. And I'm not going to do anything like that. And you mean going directly to a company and they have your information, and I have seen firsthand what you think is confidential somehow get back to your boss, and what should be personal is not personal because you don't have that third party no more in a lot of situations taking care of your paperwork. And I don't shut up. Oh, and by the way, Steve, you are doing just fine. Keep up the good work. It may take a little time, but you're going to do just fine. Take care.
All right. Thank you so much for that. Dr. Clark, how do you respond?
Yeah, so thanks to the caller again. Medical records is a major concern, and given the stigma of mental illness, a lot of people don't want third parties or such as life insurance or other parties to know about the diagnosis if they are diagnosed with a mental illness. And that's something, I would ask our congressman, how do we lobby against all of these third-party people who are accessing our medical records, especially since the medical records are now electronic, and you have to sign a waiver no matter what you're getting done at the hospital, that all these third-party people will be able to access that information. And I wish I had a great answer for that, but I will say that not getting help for your whatever the illness is not gonna be helpful for your quality of life and your long-term well-being. So I wouldn't let the medical record and the third-party issue stop me from getting care, and it is not going to right now there's no indication that it will change your insurance rates or anything like that.
But lobbying, of course, helps. As a matter of fact, we've just had some revelation this week that politicians have made some decisions that are going to reduce the number of robocalls that we've been getting,
That'd be great.
and that are going to stop people from being able to have access to numbers and things that can happen. So some progress is being made in that respect related to the protection of privacy. Lobbying really does work, and so anything you don't like, let somebody know about it. Caller, are you there?
I see us up on 47.
Yes, caller, go right ahead.
Hello?
Yes, go right ahead.
Yes, I wanted to ask, hold on a minute. I wanted to ask about social media influence on medical conditions or, I guess, mental conditions. Do you think that has any bearing on on people's health these days?
Well, if anybody would know, it might be a psychiatrist, so let's see if Dr. Clark.
Yeah, so not as much as we think. There's definitely some research coming out and some evidence to suggest that, how we're using social media, particularly Facebook, Instagram, everyone's posting these wonderful things about their lives, but not really showing the rest of their lives, and that everyone has challenges. And so the person that might be vulnerable to feeling lonely or vulnerable to depression that might be in their genetic stream might look at those pictures and perceive them in a different way. There's definitely a lot more concerns about people feeling isolated and lonely, and people are not talking to each other as much verbally, and so there is a risk just in that, and feeling like everyone else is having a better life than they are. So those types of thoughts can run a person down and lead to anxiety and depression. But there's also just the risk of people who are already vulnerable to these illnesses in those situations, basically triggering, for lack of a better word, an illness that's already laying dormant.
All right, well, thank you very much. I believe we may still have another caller. Caller, are you there? All right, maybe we don't, but let me ask this question. If one wants to try and be as emotionally healthy as they can, people ask me, so, well, what is it that helped you to be an elected official or politician? And I often tell them that trying to know as much as I can about human behavior has probably been the thing that has helped me the most. So if one wants to try and be as emotionally healthy and well-being secure as they can, what would you recommend?
So I recommend I'll probably give about 5 things here. And some of it I've mentioned to the audience already. So there are some basic things. You don't have to get medication for everything. Some of this just goes down to the basics. We're talking healthy diet, regular exercise. What does it mean to be regular exercise? 30 minutes of cardio 3 times a week. I tell my patients this all the time. It's not just for mental health. This is for physical health. The other thing is, if you are a spiritual person, remaining spiritual and checking in with that weekly or at a frequency that is doable for you, but not forgetting about your spirituality. That really carries a lot of people through. If you are having a problem communicating with someone about it, communication is extremely important because so many people suffer in silence. And if you are communicating that something's wrong and it's bothering you, maybe that person can help you get the support you need. Maybe you tell your doctor and they can help you get to a person that can help you further. And learning to Mr. Davis's point, really being educated about the different things. So if you different mental illnesses. So if you find yourself being depressed, well, think about the symptoms. Look up, well, what are the symptoms of depression? Learn more about it so that you can determine if you are experiencing something that you need to seek more help for.
Well, let me thank you for those recommendations. I certainly agree with them. And I also agree with one big time, and that's this notion of recognizing some force outside of self. Folks call it different things. Some folks call it religion. Some folks call it having a shot of Christianity. Some folks call it just being able to reach back and grab hold to something that you can't see but you can feel, and you can know it's there. There's something within that I can't always explain, but it's there. And I might be driving along in my car feeling sad and feeling bad, and might just say, what a friend I have in Jesus. I don't have any problem, expressing that I'm a practicing Christian. I believe in this source and this force. And if you can find something that can help you, whatever it is that you call it, that's all right. I don't care what you call it. I call it a God force in my life and hopefully in your life. So let me thank you for being with us. It's been wonderful, and we hope that we can get you back, and we hope we can have you at some of our meetings where you can spend some real time sharing with our constituents how they can make use of mental health services, and it does not mean that they're crazy.
Absolutely. I would love to do that.
All right.
For having
Thank
me.
you all, and happy Father's Day to everybody. There's a quartet group that's honoring me as a Father of the Year, and I want to thank them at the JLM Center on Sunday afternoon. Hope to see you there. Hey, do something good for yourself and something even better for somebody else. We'll see you next week.